Welcome back to my channel, Pages and Stitches. That's spelled pages, the number 3 stitches, both here and on Instagram. My name is Kelly and I'm back finally for an update. This is going to be Quilter's Corner number 30. And thank you so much for your patience waiting for me to put this dang video out. Today is Sunday, July 21st. So it's been a hot minute since my last update. I was gonna try and get an update out by the end of June. I clearly missed that by a mile. Sorry. We have our little kitty gentleman here to say hi. He always perks up when I start filming these videos. So this is him hopping in. Say hello. Okay. So like I said, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Quilting is not as popular in terms of YouTube vlogging the way FlossTube is. So if you're here, I know you genuinely are interested in quilting, and so let's be friends because I really like the hobby, and I feel like there's not enough of us out there. So I hope what I have to share with you today you enjoy, you like, and you want to see progress on, so you keep coming back for more. If you're new here, I do also do FlossTube updates. I'm a cross stitcher as well. That video will have been posted right before this one. I tend to do them FlossTube first and then Quilter's Corner. And I film one update for both at the same time. So keep an eye out for that if you are interested in that. And then if you are a returning friend or returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you guys giving me the patience to take the time I need between filming, and you've been very supportive regarding having more extended breaks between updates just for me to live my life. And I also, of course, received a lot of support in terms of, you know, just making sure I'm okay and everything's good. And so I appreciate that. I do read all of your comments. I am not the fastest about responding to them, but I do read them, and I will get to your comments eventually. Usually it happens right around the time that I film these and I remember, oh yeah, I gotta respond to all those comments. That's neither here nor there. So, because it's been about 10-11 weeks since my last update, I have a lot to share with you, I think, and that includes a lot of life. So if you are here from FlossTube, you will have heard everything already. So I'm just gonna do the highlights, and if you want, for those of you who haven't heard it before, if you are interested in what's going on, go check out my FlossTube video. And in the intro, I give a breakdown of everything. Okay, so rapid fire. First, my dog Milo, he's still alive and well. He's doing okay. We are managing his problems with medicine, and unfortunately, you know, things happen when your dogs get older, and that's very sad. Number 2, I had a birthday. I'm 35 now. Hooray. I went to work. I really didn't do anything. Number 3, I got sick, and it was COVID. That's the second time I've had COVID. I'm fully vaccinated, and I've had boosters, so fortunately this time around it wasn't much of anything, but it zapped me of a lot of energy and creative juices. So you know, hopefully I feel like I have enough to show you in this update. Hopefully you agree. Number 4, if you are interested in any updates regarding my tattoo, my sleeve, those are coming soon. I have about 1 or maybe 2 sessions left until I'm finally done with it, and then I'll kind of do a big breakdown of everything, probably on Instagram. This is all that's left, is the underside. And then lastly, if you are interested at all in the moth caterpillars that I had been raising, the end of the story is not the best. Unfortunately, they didn't make it out of their cocoons. I know, that's very sad. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, that's okay. But if you've been following their progress on Instagram and you're interested at all, yeah, they made their cocoons and then they never came out because they just kind of were slow growing, which is very sad. But it was a beautiful experience, and I'm very happy that I had it. Okay, that's life. So now we're gonna do my reading update. If you are unfamiliar, the Pages of Pages and Stitches is representative of my third passion, which is reading. I try to read every day. I mostly accomplish that, but sometimes, you know, like this last few months, I have stressors and illnesses that prevent me from wanting to do anything but sleep. So, well, if you have, like I said, already come from my FlossTube update, then you will have seen these books before and you can skip past this part. Okay, the first book I read is The Dark King by Gina Maxwell. Next, I read First Down by Reilly. Next, I read Love Theoretically by Hazelwood. And then I started the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. This is number 1, this is Gild. And then I read number 2, which is Glint. And then I will give pictures of the next 2 books that I read because I read them on Kindle. I read Midnight Touch by L. Ann, and then I read The Chase by Reece Barden. All right, let's talk quilting, shall we? I have a finish. I have a fully finished object that I am very excited to show you. It turned out beautifully. I got it back from the Long Armor a couple weeks ago, and I fully finished it, and now I'm ready to show it to you. So I'll show you that. I also have a couple of new starts. I have some whip progress, and once we go through all that, then we'll touch on a couple of plans at the end, and then we'll say goodbye. So the fully finished object that I have to share with you is this guy right here. This is Stars Hollow, which was designed by Missouri Star Quilt Company. I will insert a picture of what the full-sized quilt all laid out looks like. I love the way it turned out. I used the fabric Moonlit Garden from Andover, and the background is like a cream and peach colored dot that I got from Joann's. And it came together really, really well. And then as you can see, my quilter did this really lovely swirly leaf pattern that kind of looks like leaves blowing in the breeze. A little bit of a filigree style to it as well. We quilted it with a light kind of sagey green thread for the front, which I really enjoy because it's bright enough that you can see the quilting pattern, but it's not so obnoxious that it detracts from the rest of the quilt. The border was the beautiful dark green moth print, and the backing was the same print but in the pink colorway, the light peachy pink colorway, and then I used that same fabric from the backing to do the binding. And I love it. It has already folded up like this. It's already been commandeered by my cat as a cat bed, so I had to clean all the cat hair off of this quilt before I showed it to you today. But yeah, it turned out really great. This was a fun project. The blocks themselves were super easy to make. Basically just a bunch of flying geese put together, and then there you have it. The fabric, the Moonlit Garden fabric, came in a layer cake. It's a layer cake friendly pattern. If it is still available, I will have it linked down below. It's a little bit dated now because it's been out for a while, so it might not be available anymore, at least not from like major retailers like Fat Quarter Shop. But like I said, if I have it if I have access to it online, I'll link it down below. Anything I mention that I can link in the description, I will. Any channels that I mention, any fabrics or patterns, anything I can, I will have it linked down below. So I can add this to my finishes pile and my finish count for the year. And I'm very excited to keep that number ticking up. So the next one to be finished that is sitting in my closet at the moment is the acid trip sampler. I have it, I showed it last time, the top was finished and the backing is all put together. I just have to take it to my long armor to get quilted, which should be in which will probably be in September if I remember correctly, if not sooner. I think it's September though, so it may or may not be finished before the next update. I think it will be though. So the next project that I worked on, you will see up on my design wall. It's the one up at the top, and that is this project here. This is My Favorite Color is Moda sampler by Moda. They designed this sampler to feature their Bella solids. This is what the full quilt looks like. I obviously am not using Bella solids. I'm using my own color palette and fabric combination of navies, creams, and mustard golds. And they're all different celestial kind of prints. So stars, moons, suns, spacey themed, with a little bit of gold metallic throughout, because you know I love a gold metallic. So the last bit that I showed you, let me kind of tilt you up a little bit. This is a big quilt, so it goes all the way to the top of my design wall. Oh, hang on, almost there. We'll get there, guys. So this big block here and everything that way is section 1 right there. That had been finished and stitched together last time you saw this. And since then I completed section 2, and then while completing section 2, some of these blocks, namely these 3 up here and this one, appear in other places in the quilt. So it gives you the cutting instructions for all of them. And they're kind of hiding down here under this panel, all the extra ones that I've made for the quilt. Anyways, so this, I'm not gonna take it off the design wall because I have to get up on my tall ladder to unpin it at the top there because it is way up there. But this block, and that block appear 3 times each in the quilt in other places. And this one has another appearance down here somewhere. So those are waiting in the wings to be put in their sections when I get to them. And then this big guy is the sort of feature block of this section. And you can see, like, this is mostly half square triangles. It's hard to tell, but these are 2 different color creams. These are half square triangles with gold on one side and then cream on the other. And then we've got the gold and cream blocks there, the blue, and lighter blue half square triangles. And so the parts that, I mean, these look like solid triangles, right? They're not. They're half square triangles and then a square, a rectangle, and a square to fill it out. And it's the same with these parts here. The only solid pieces of fabric are the 4 corners. Everything else is like a tiny little 2-inch square or half square triangle. So there was a lot of pieces in putting this one together. It took ages, but it looks really good. So, all right, let's tilt you back down. There we go. So behind the panel that I have just kind of hanging out here for a minute is all the other ones that I had made. that the pattern called for. There we go. So I made this one previously, and that goes in a different section that's hanging out. There's the other one, like that one, and then here's all the other littler ones. So until I get to those sections, they're just gonna kind of hang out off to the side, because as you can see, my design wall is chock full of stuff. So I couldn't really kind of like leave them spaced out. Now you may be asking yourself, Kelly, why is that panel out? Well, I had it out because it was one of the projects that I thought I might want to start in the meantime, and I haven't yet. I have plans, which we'll get to when we get to plans, but just disregard this for now. It's just nice to look at, so I have it still out. Call it inspiration. So in between now and the next update, I want to keep working on this. The next section that I think I'm going to do is this one here, just so it's fully completed down one side. So I think at least this one I want to have done before we meet again. So here's that block appearing again, that block. And then these are the three that I set up here other places. And then there's one there and one there. And they appear kind of other places there. So other than that one, and that one, the rest of it will be new and you haven't seen it yet. So I'm gonna try and have this section done. And I may or may not have it stitched to this one, just because that's the way it goes when you piece it together. This one will be stitched to this one, and then these two to that, and then you get it. You get it. So that's the plan for this quilt for next time, is to at least have that section done. The next whip that I worked on is paint chips. So I will insert a picture, if I have it still, of the last time you saw all my paint chips blocks. Obviously I don't really have room for it on this design wall. It hangs out over here on my mini design wall, and I pulled all the blocks off so you can kind of see how they're building up. So most notably, I started all of the orange ones, the sort of orangey peach ones. So I'll kind of show you sort of like a mustardy orange, like a bright vibrant. There's more of a true orange. That one's got more of a brown rust color to it. There's a darker, almost red leaning orange. And then these two are both sort of peachy creams. These two are very similar. So it looks like I haven't done more than that, but that's not true. I've added a lot more yellows, a lot more greens, and this sort of teal color. But a lot of the blocks are gonna look similar, much like these two, because I'm using up those long scraps that I have a lot of strips of. And so that's gonna be like, let me show you some yellows. So we got, I know that one was added, but like you can see there's a lot of like the same fabrics repeated in other blocks, just because I'm trying to use up all of those scraps. And so I'm doing my best to sort of move everything around so they're slightly different, and that'll help me kind of blend one color to the next. As you can see, the darkest colors are going to be at the top, and then they go down to the lighter colors. So we've got more greens for sure. Yeah. If you haven't been here before, you don't know what the paint chip quilt is. I have scraps that are either being used to make hexies for an English paper piecing project that I'm working on, or there's strips like this that I'm using to make what we have named the paint chip quilt, or paint chips, because they look like paint chips from like a hardware store. And I'm trying to use them all up, or as much as I can, because, you know, we have all these scraps, we should use them, right? We save them, may as well. So if they're big enough to be made into the English paper piecing hexagons, they go into that scrap pile. And if they're like skinny strips, but a significant amount, they go into my strip scraps, and they will eventually be turned into the paint chip blocks. And then I will eventually put them together in like a big kind of gradient style, I think. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm just fleshing this out, and then when I eventually get my design wall back, I'll have these laid out on there so you can kind of see more of what they're gonna look like blended together. I still have a lot of colors to go through. I've got all my pinks, purples, blacks, the true blue colors, and there's a little bit more of like the yellows and the greens, and like basically everything. There's a little bit more of everything to kind of get through. So, and then naturally, as you quilt, you create more scraps. So it's a never-ending project, but this is me trying to do my best to use them up in a fun and creative way. So additionally, which you may see behind me, I have 2 new starts to share with you. I had tossed around several project ideas to help kind of supplement my need to start something, since I finished so many things recently. And I have 2 of those projects that I did start to share with you. So first, I'm going to share this one here. This is City Girl Chevron by Krista Moser. And I have started it, which you can see here. Let me kind of tilt you down a little bit so you can see better. So I am making this project using a jelly roll from Tilda. I've taken that jelly roll and divided it up into groups of 3s, kind of sort of blending dark to light, but not really. And then I added a pair of shimmery fabrics to go in between. So the pattern, the Krista Moser pattern, utilizes a sort of solid metallic gold, and then a creamy white that has gold on it. I have a solid metallic gold, and I have that cut up here. I got this fabric from Quilter. I forget the name. I think it's from a line called Precious Metals. I got it a while ago, so I don't know if it's still available. Again, if it is, I will link it down below. But they had, you know, multiple quilting fabrics that were metallics like this. And I bought the gold, but I needed something else, like a lighter fabric to use as the lighter piece between the jelly roll strips. And what I found to use as that is this fabric here. I'm trying to show it so you can see the shine. Yeah, it kind of translates there. So in person, it's a much more, it's kind of like the gold fabric, but obviously much more subdued. It's more of a creamy white that has a very subtle gold shimmer. And I don't know if it translates very well on the camera, but in person it is very obviously a gold color. And that's what I'm using as the lighter. That's a pretty good shimmer right there. That's what I'm using as the lighter strip between all of the Tilda fabrics. So I'm in love with how this is turning out. Here's a close-up of the diamonds that I'm making. You can see the kind of, so this is sort of like a vaguely dark to light setup with the gray down here and the purple and the red. The reason why this is really doing it for me is these, to me, look like fans, like Asian fans. I love it. So here's a better representation of those three colors. Right now they're grouped together on the design wall, but as you can see from the pattern, they will be all kind of mixed up whenever I have them ready to do that. But here's the reverse. So what you do, it's very simple. You make these strip units, you cut 60-degree triangles, and you'll flip the triangle as you cut them down those strip units. So then you end up with triangles where the darkest color is on top, and then triangles where the lightest color is on top. And then you stitch two together, which makes these diamonds, and you get diagonal rows, and they just look so stinking pretty. You do have to be cautious because by cutting, on the diagonal across the strip units, you are cutting on the bias. So stitching it back together, you do have to be sure, you're not pulling or tugging or distorting in any way. But God, they look so good. Let me show you the blues. So here's this one with the darkest blue on top. You can really kind of see the gradient there in this one. And then here is the lightest blue on top. And of course that by rotating it, you're getting the gold and the shimmery cream sort of alternating as well. See, in this one, the gold is on top. And it just helps, it just looks so good. These really look like Asian fans to me, which is part of the reason why I liked the fabric line to begin with. Oh, they're so pretty. So I have 6 or 7 colorway groupings in total. So the first 2 are done, and then by the next time you see this, I want to try and push through the rest of them. They're so fast. Once you have your strip units, everything's cut out. Obviously jelly rolls don't need cutting. Once you have your strip units made, you just cut your triangles and then stitch 2 triangles together. They're just super quick. So hopefully I can have most, if not all of those units put together to kind of lay out for the next one. Also, in the cutting instructions, you get 2 triangles of each that you don't stitch together to make a diamond, and that's going to be what fills in the triangles on the edges. So that'll look something like that when you go to put it together. So the edges are going to be straight lines, but the top border and the bottom border are going to be diagonal. And sort of the chevron. She also, Krista Moser, also has a tutorial on her YouTube channel, which I will have linked down below, for how to do the binding on an uneven or a non-straight edge for both the chevron as well as, I think, scalloped edges, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have it linked down below. But yeah, look at how pretty that is. It's so pretty. God, I can't wait to put this one together. And like I said, once I have all the colorways put together, then I'll kind of mix and match and move them around so they're not all the blues together and all the oranges together and all the yada yada yada. Very pretty, very easy. So the other new start, it's a very modest new start because it's just this block right here. I will insert a picture of what the pattern looks like because my pattern I printed at work, so it's black and white. It's called the Monarch quilt by the Cloth Parcel, and I am using the Monarch quilt pattern to make use of my Celtic Fairy fabric by Lewis and Irene that I had mentioned last time. The background fabric, I'm gonna bring the block in closer because right now, especially with the lighting the way it is, that's really washed out and it just looks like a black X. I'm gonna bring it in closer. The fabric line is beautiful, like tans and blues and purples that are all fairy prints, unicorns and thistle flowers. And then there's a supplemental background fabric that I have cut here. I forget the name of this solid and I forget it every time. I've mentioned it multiple times. I will have it on the screen because I never remember what it is. But this is just a solid that I had laying around that I was going to use in another quilt. And it goes really well with the fabric line. So this is going to be the background in that quilt. And then the pattern itself calls for, depending on the size of your quilt, either 12 fat quarters or 20. I had 15. So I'm gonna do a hybrid size. I added a supplemental fabric so that my fat quarter total is 16, and I'm gonna do 4x4 blocks. The way it works out is a 1-to-1 ratio of block to fat quarter. So I added one that matched the line, and I'm just gonna do 4x4 so it's an even square. So here's the size breakdown. So would be the mid size, the one that takes the 20. I'm just doing 16. So disregard that row and then that row. And it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. So the supplemental fabric that I used to add to the line is actually this fabric here. This fabric is almost as old as I am. We bought this fabric, I say we, I had nothing to do with it. Mom bought this fabric when I was in like middle school to make a drawstring backpack for me, which she did. I don't know why she bought so much, because it took probably a yard or less to make that drawstring backpack. But we've been using it since that time, and I still have about a yard left of it. Even after cutting what I needed to add to the quilt. But the fabric line has a couple of beautiful navy prints and that have like a silver metallic on it. And so this just fit perfectly, and it looks like it's a part of the line very well. And I still have a yard left over to use for another 10 years. So I'm gonna try, I have everything sitting on this container right now. I don't wanna tilt it up, but I'm gonna, see. Everything has been cut out and kind of grouped together and mixed all around, but you can see the sort of color palette here if you don't remember the fabric line. Like creamy tans, some sort of lavender purples, and then light blue and navy blue, and everything's got a little bit of a metallic on it. It's got unicorns, fairies, thistle flowers, this little like tree spirit kind of guy. Perfect. So let me actually show you the block. Now the way this pattern is cut, you cut a lot of diagonals. There's a lot stitched on the bias. And I would say that this pattern is a little bit more advanced for those of you who are considering doing it. If you're more of a beginner level, that's not to say you can't do it, but it is a little bit harder because there's a ton of piecing, and there's a lot cut on the bias. So the blocks are supposed to be 16.5 by 16.5 unfinished. I somehow ended up with something that was just over 17 by 17, so I trimmed it to just 17 by 17. And in doing so, I cut a lot of my points. So I'm gonna have to just live with that, I guess, because I'm not gonna go back and change it now. So just be aware of that if you do decide to make this pattern. I think the thing that messed it up for me is I tend to stitch with a scant 1/4 inch instead of a 1/4 inch, and that ended up meaning I had a much bigger block. So I'm just gonna resize all the blocks to be 17 by 17 and live with it, you know? Anyways, here's the block itself. So you can see that gold metallic in this darker purple. Here's the lighter purple with the fairies and the thistles. There's a unicorn and a Celtic kind of knot with hearts on that darker blue print. And then a Celtic knot style flower in the creamy gold print. And then this is how the solid sort of background of that mystery blue that I never remember the name of will feature. So yeah, that's the block all put together. Now this, because it is a lot of piecing, it doesn't go together as fast, but I only have to make 16 of them instead of 20, so that's something. So I'm gonna keep working on this. The next time you check in with me, I wanna have more blocks done. How many? I don't know. We'll see. Because the priority, I think, is going to be to make progress on this one and then this one, because they're going to be closer to a finish. So I think for a minute, I'm going to be making slower progress on this one. But that being said, it is beautiful. Oh, I also forgot to say, this fabric, I wasn't able to buy from my friend Amy of Fiber Arts Amy. I will have her channel linked down below. She is a cross stitcher and a quilter as well, which is why we're such good friends. I mean, that's one of the reasons why. We're actually just two peas in a pod. So whenever I was cutting all the fabric out, I took a picture and I sent it to her and I was like, look what you made me do. I'm kidding, she didn't make me do it. Hey friends, just popping in real quick. It is now a couple days later after I've actually filmed my Quilter's Corner, which is why everything's different. I actually just got off work. It's like 9 o'clock at night right now. It might even be later than that. I'm not even totally sure. But I realized as I was editing that I totally forgot to include something in my video. So I didn't have any haul. I'm not really in the business of buying much in terms of craft supplies at the moment, but I did receive a very lovely gift that I wanted to make sure I shouted out because it's very special, and I had forgotten about it because it's been on my keychain for a few weeks now. But if you're unfamiliar, there's a user on here, a floss tuber. Her name's Laurel, and her channel name is I Am a Stitch Nerd. Of course, I'll have it linked down below. She does floss tube and quilting videos, like a combo in one. I love watching her stuff because she has the cutest Southern accent. But she always has quilts behind her on the wall, just kind of displayed, and they're always different and they're fun to kind of eyeball and get ideas from. Anyway, she reached out to me a while ago and said that she wanted to send me something, and I didn't know what it was. And when it came in the mail, it turns out it was this precious little keychain, which it says, I'm in a quilt gang, and then it's got a little Singer sewing machine, and I've had this on my keys for a hot minute, so I totally forgot about it. But I wanted to make sure I came on here and included it in my update so that I could give Laurel credit, and so I could send you guys over to her channel if you haven't been there already, just to make sure you give her some love as well. If I'm not mistaken, she sent one to Laura of Lala D Stitches as well. She sent me a cute little note, and it just said that she made these for like a stitching retreat or a quilters kind of camp, I think is what she called it. And so she had extras that she wanted to give to people that were quilty that she likes. So she reached out and she sent me this precious little gift. And so thank you so much, Laurel, because I love this and it's very cute. And I've never been in a gang before. I have street cred now, so thank you for that. Anyways, okay, back to your regularly scheduled programming. So that is all of my WIP progress and my new starts for this update. So we're gonna go over plans real quick and then we'll sign off. So I mentioned Amy, a Fiber Arts Amy, for this fabric line, she being the one who enabled me to buy it. And while I'm on the subject of her, I mentioned her when talking about this fabric, when thinking about what projects I wanted to start, because she has a fabric dyeing business. She dyes cross-stitch fabric as well as quilting cotton, all by hand. And she sent me this beautiful fat quarter bundle as a gift, which was super generous of her. So I had been hunting and hunting for a project to use this with, and I finally found the one that I want to use it with, but I need way more than what I have. So I'm putting this back on the shelf. I went back to her fabric dyeing company, which is Oak Crown Studios. Absolutely, that store will be linked down below. Go check it out if you are a cross stitcher and a quilter. And I went back to her store and I bought 15 more fat quarters. I have 12 here. I bought 15 more to really flesh it out. I don't want to show you the pattern yet. I want it to be a surprise. But I showed her so she knows why I want her to hand dye 15 new pieces of material. But that's gonna come before I can start on this project. And she's currently one of the busiest women on the planet. And so I told her to take her time with dyeing my order. I will see her in October in person because I'm going to a stitchers retreat that she is hosting. So I told her if nothing else, she can just give it to me then. So these are going back on the shelf on hold until I get that material, and then I will show you that project. The other plan is I need to design for this. The fabric line for this one is called Dark Forest. I showed you all the prints that I have from that fabric line. I don't have the full line, just a yard of several of them. This one I have 2 yards of, and then this purple, this grunge purple, is just one that I got as a supplemental print to go with it. But the company that printed this fabric, they obviously release a quilt pattern to go with it. I just didn't like it. So I have not yet found, and I've been hunting for patterns to use all of this material in, and so I'm just gonna design one myself, I've decided. The problem that I'm having is the abnormal sizes of the blocks in these panels, or in this panel. This block is like 11 1/4 by 14 1/4 or something like that. And then these are something like 9 7/8 by 11 7/8. Like they're just abnormal sizes. So I have to put a little bit more brain power into designing a pattern for them than I'm willing to do at the moment. It'll happen. It's just I have to get the creative juices flowing, you know? So that's part of my plans before next time, is to actually hash out a pattern for this. I have a couple of options in terms of quilting software that are free over the internet that I can utilize, but because it's free, you know, the functions of them are limited, which is fine. That's just part of the process in figuring out how to design quilt patterns. I've designed several of my own patterns before. If you are new here, I have several quilts that I've done in the past that I've designed just by hand on graph paper or up in my brain computer. So it's just a matter of figuring one out for this. Literally the only thing that's preventing me from coming up with something is how weird the sizes are of these blocks. I'll figure it out. So all that to say, I want to have a design finalized for this one by the next time we meet. Not necessarily started, because obviously I've got other projects that I've started and others that I'm still working on. I don't know, but for sure I want to have the design itself finalized. And then I'm just awaiting the hand-dyed fabric from Oak Crown Studios to get to work on the fat quarter, the hand-dyed fat quarters that she provides me. So I don't have a timeline for that as of yet. And then of course, likely the next time I see you, my acid trip sampler will be completed, and I can't wait to show you that. I'm very excited about it. And other than that, I think that's everything. Yeah, so anyways, like I said, if you have any questions at all, drop me a comment. I have my email included down below, so if you prefer to speak privately, we can communicate that way. You can find me on Instagram. You're welcome to reach out to me there as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for sticking around, if you have to this point. I know sometimes I just start rambling, and then here we are an hour later. Okay, I'm gonna go get this edited so I can get it up. The editing takes forever, so give me a minute. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.